So please help me welcome Long Island Mary!
From her first time on stage to discovering her true voice in the unpredictable world of comedy, Mary Tischbein, better known as Long Island Mary, has always turned everyday chaos, raw honesty, and sharp wit into unforgettable punchlines.
You want to see this going up and down on a pole, do you? Is that what you want to see? Yeah, it's not going to happen. My mother's here, but thanks.
Inspired by legends like Gilda Radner, Mary embraced her calling in stand-up comedy.
When I was 10 years old, I saw an episode of Saturday Night Live, and I was young for a show like that, but that was the first time I saw Gilda Radner. She was someone who I wanted to be. She was funny, she was on TV, and she inspired not only me, but every other woman comedian I know. But what she did was show us that we could do it too. Girls can be funny. I can't talk about my early experiences performing stand-up comedy without bringing up Les McCurdy and McCurdy's Comedy Theater in Sarasota, Florida. That's where I got my start. That's where I took the class. That's where it all happened. And my first performance was a class graduation. I was at a place that was assigned to me to be at, like school. I paid for it. I went. I brought 60 people. They were thrilled to see me. Of course, the audience included 60 people that came just for me. So there I was, backstage, first show, finally ready to perform stand-up comedy for the first time in my life, and there's another Mary in the class. And the teacher of the class looks at me and goes, well, there were two Marys, well, where are you from? Because God forbid they say our last name. He said, well, where are you from? And I said, Long Island. He said, you're Long Island Mary then. And that's how I got the name Long Island Mary. I was nervous as anything, and I did some things to make myself less nervous. We won't go into the details, but I was able to get up there, and it was fun.
So my new friend said, Mary, we got an idea. We're going to go kayaking. We're going to go down to the river. We're going to go kayaking. I got stuck with, we're going to go down to the river. I'm from New York. You don't come back from the river.
And then as time went on, I got more comfortable.
I can't be a redneck. I'm from New York. There are no rednecks in New York. No. I'm what you call white trash.
I stayed in the clean comedy world for a few years. I was a little stiff, not really that funny. I got angry one night at a show, and I went off on an obnoxious bartender because he was rude to somebody about an hour before that. And I got off stage, and everybody said, well, that was the funniest you've ever been. I was mad. They said, well, you were true. You were being real. You were speaking in your own voice. It was great. And then as time went on, I got more comfortable. And eventually I started talking about who I really am, which is a gay comedian. And that changes your material. And that made things very different. And I was finding I was getting onto shows because of that, which was great. It opened up a whole nother area of comedy I couldn't get into. And then I got dirtier and dirtier.
I know, that's why I'm a retrosexual. I'm trying to keep the past here. That's why I got this haircut from 78. I was trying to be Jacqueline Smith or Farrah Fawcett. Did I make it? No, I ended up looking like the lead singer from Rush. It's insane, it's crazy.
Sometimes you go to a gig and there's a silver lining. I was driving across the street with a friend of mine who's a comic, and the phone rang, and it was a person I really didn't want to talk to. He never had good news, but this time he did. He told me he was looking for a funny lady who was fat, over 40, and female, and I'm like, well, what is this for? Well, it ended up being a chance to shoot a pilot for Adult Swim. So even though I ended up getting the role because I was chubby, and that really annoyed me, that's what they were looking for, it ended up being such a strange show anyway. They were a bunch of stoners on a cruise ship, and I was playing a woman whose husband was eaten by a sea monster, and then they had a funeral. It was a very strange show. But you know what I got out of it was my SAG-AFTRA card, so it was all worth it. No, it didn't air, but I got my card.
I'm going to reveal the secret tonight of Weight Watchers. You're all skinny and pretty, so tell your fat, chubby aunts and uncles, okay? The secret of Weight Watchers, you ready? Always leave something on the plate. I do. I leave the fork.
I wasn't getting promoted to better gigs. I never made it to headliner. A lot of clubs were closing. The opportunities were going away. I knew it was time to go, but I knew there was still other ways for me to make people laugh. As I evolved, finding my voice and getting more comfortable and writing real material from my heart, I looked around and I realized comedy was also evolving. The audiences weren't as receptive. So what was I going to do to make people laugh? Well, there were some ideas. One day I was talking to a friend of mine and she was sharing with me some of her frustrations with stand-up comedy. And I looked at her and I said, is it time? Do we start a podcast? And she said, you took the words right out of my mouth. Boy, oh boy, I need a distraction.
How about a new podcast?
That sounds great. What's it called?
Scooch Ovaries.
Scooch Ovaries?
Scooch Ovaries.
Who hosts that?
Comic and collection specialist Robin Savage and actor and accountant Mary Tischbein.
They sound fun and funny.
Oh, they are.
Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries! That means there's a
Lightning strike?
lightning strike somewhere nearby. And we are recording. Oh, I asked you how your week was, but I didn't really give a shit. Hey, do you remember your very first podcast that you listened to?
You know, as much as I like podcasts, I think I had a podcast before I listened to it because I knew what they were and a lot of people in Tampa were doing them. But I don't remember the very first one. Do you have memories of your very first one?
I just think it's funny because I remember you doing yours. And I remember going with you. And I remember deciding, this isn't going to last. This is one of those fly-by-night things. Like when I went to film school and they said, Mary, maybe look into video and digital stuff. I'm like, I'm going to stick with celluloid because I know what matters. So I'm never one to go to when there's things changing to see where the future is going to bring us. I ride along and I enjoy it, but I'm never able to predict it. So I thought podcasts were going to die a slow death. There are now 4 million podcasts.
Yeah.
4 million and one if you count Scooch Ovaries.
Isn't it great? It's episode 38. And what? We got Catherine Maloney back? Woo! All this and more on this episode of Scooch Ovaries.
Scooch over.
Hey, can you scooch over?
You want me to scooch over?
Just a little bit. Scooch.
Scooch?
Scooch.
Scooch. Scooch Ovaries.
Like, I'm gonna yeah. That one time when COVID, right? We were stopping the car for little lizards on Mary's car. Like, I was like, stop, there's a turtle in the middle of the road when I was staying here and we kept stopping and Mary's like, it's just a lizard. And like a Disney princess, I'd put my hand down and the lizard would jump in my hand and I'd walk into the middle of the thing and I'd let it go into a hole. And I'd be like,
went on your shoulder. When I tell the story.
yeah, I'm like, I think he did actually go on my shoulder now that you mention that. But anyway, I get, and he just like, you know, runs into the little, like,
Waves.
and I'm like, bye. And he was like, thank you. And I was like, you're welcome.
The turtle.
And flash forward to like a week later and we're driving and
It
we
was
see
the same day.
It was
It was the
that's
same
right.
day.
It was the same day. I was on a roll and God was like, how about this one? And it was an old lady on a bike falling. She was like on like halfway, like it looked like she was propping herself up so she wasn't on the floor. And Mary goes, oh my God, look at that old lady. And I went, keep driving. Because I am not about to be sued from some Karen because I've messed up her blood pressure or some shit.
You're like the lizard's mom.
Yeah. I was like, no, she's fine. Other people see her, someone will call 911. It was a bad time in my life. But, you know, I've
You
trust
got a great
issues.
bit out of it. That's what matters.
Pretty much. I don't think I've ever talked about it on stage
you need-
because I haven't talked about the 2020s yet. You know,
I've
I'm like,
told that story so many times.
oh, it was so funny because Mary's like, oh my God, this is our moment. Like she probably sees like her mom and this old lady, you know, and it's like, oh my God, that
she
could be
helped
my
her.
mom. And I was like, that could be my mom. Keep going. You know, like she doesn't deserve it. Figure it out. Like you made me figure it out when I was 17, you know, and she was like, I'm just an old lady with a bad hip. And I'm like, I don't care.
Because you knew somebody was going to come help her. I think there was a
Of
man coming
course.
down the street.
Of course.
So he was gonna help
Eventually
her.
somebody would have gotten her.
Yeah, but no one was going to help that gecko or that turtle.
Nobody's looking out for the turtles.
Princess Catherine.
They need me.
I think this would be a good time to maybe switch to